Coming up on Network Africa. Court rules UK government's plan to deport migrants to Rwanda unlawful. Heavy fighting erupts in Sudan despite RSF announcement about unilateral truces. Plus, Russia says African countries are free to decide whether to keep working with Wagner. Hello and welcome to Network Africa on Channels Television. I'm Joke Rogers here in Lagos. We start off with the news in the UK, where we're learning that the British Prime Minister has lost the latest round in the legal battle over its controversial Rwanda deportation policy. Under a deal struck last year, Britain's government planned to send tens of thousands of asylum seekers who arrived on its shores more than 4,000 miles to the East African country. However, the Court of Appeal ruled in favor of the asylum seekers and charity, arguing that the policy is unlawful.
The deficiencies in the asylum system in Rwanda are such that there are substantial grounds for believing that there is a real risk that persons sent to Rwanda will be returned to their home countries where they faced persecution or other inhumane treatment when in fact they have a good claim for asylum. In that sense, Rwanda is not a safe third country. That conclusion is founded on the evidence which was before the High Court that Rwanda's system for deciding asylum claims was, in the period up to the conclusion of the Rwanda agreement, inadequate. The court is unanimous in accepting that the assurances given by the Rwandan government were made in good faith and were intended to address any defects in the asylum process. However, the majority believes that the evidence does not establish that the necessary changes had by then been reliably effected, or would have been at the time of the proposed removals.
Let's expand this discussion. Joining us now is immigration lawyer in the UK, Dayo Fadina. Good to see you today, and thanks for speaking with us.
Oh, well, good afternoon, and thanks for having me, and good afternoon to your audience too.
Right, so quite an interesting turnout of events, I should say. Let's begin with your thoughts on this ruling that UK-Rwanda asylum plan is unlawful.
Indeed, this very particular situation has been going on for the last one and a half years, and I think a few times on your program I've always maintained the fact that the government's policy on asylum seekers being, taken to Rwanda is always been an unlawful situation. The fact still remains that that's the case, and for the government to still be going gung-ho on the fact that they would want to appeal against this decision, my strong advice will be that they should just scrap this very particular draconian wretched policy and let the asylum situation be dealt with within the UK. It's the case that why on earth would any government, and I've maintained this for the last 1 year, why on earth would any government want to start, breaching its obligations under the UN Refugee Convention and the Human Rights Act, and conclude that that should be the situation that is, flying refugees who want to actually claim asylum in the UK to Rwanda. It's now been very clear. I think the court ruled very, very clearly on this, that would be an illegal act, and the fact that it's not proper, it's not proportionate in any way and proper in any way for asylum seekers to be flown to Rwanda for their claims to be considered. It's positive news and good news in one respect, but on the other hand, I don't think the courts dealt with what's been going on over the last 1 year, the government's, draconian, nasty policy of wanting to ship, or to fly people to Rwanda. I don't think the court dealt with that very particular aspect at all. And in that sense, that was quite disappointing for me. I was expecting not just ruling against people being taken to Rwanda, but also ruling against the government's, horrible policy over the last 1 year of sending, having it in mind to start sending people to Rwanda.
And how much of a setback is this for the UK government, especially for the Home Secretary, who has made no secret of her enthusiasm to start flights to Rwanda?
Well, I'm not even sure what I should call it a setback. I think it was a big failure on the part of the government to even be thinking of this kind of policy over the last 1.5 years. A setback possibly, but majorly a failure. A failure in the sense that Suella Braverman, over the last 1.5 years, has been so tough and gung-ho about this. At one point she was even saying that it's her dream, an obsession, and she's actually waiting for when people would be flown to Rwanda, to claim asylum. She was very, very clear about this, and at one point she was even calling immigrants that immigrants are actually flooding the UK. For a Home Secretary to be saying this, it was totally out of order, not proper. And the fact that the courts have now ruled against this draconian policy is a good thing. It's a big failure on the part of the government. They should just scrap this very particular policy. It's not going to work at all. It's not workable. It's not practical. It's a situation where you kind of wonder what kind of compassion or what kind of good sense of doing things properly this particular British government has concerning asylum seekers.
And the government thinks the plan will deter asylum seekers from crossing the channel in small boats and, to save taxpayers' money in the long run. But opponents argue that Rwanda is not a safe destination, as you've put out there, for asylum seekers, and that the scheme breaks human rights laws. So what solution would you prefer to this?
Well, indeed, as you rightly alluded to, the place that Rwanda is not a safe country for any asylum seeker to go and claim and seek asylum. And my solution, I think, would be this. The government should be more understanding and more compassionate towards fellow human beings like you and I. These people, they don't just get onto boats, or, going through the channel or even the Mediterranean Sea and start saying they want to seek asylum. There are very, very particular fundamental reasons why all these very, very unfortunate people risk their lives for that matter, in crossing the channel and want to claim asylum. I think the government should be thinking very seriously of other routes upon which asylum seekers or refugees could claim asylum in the UK. They could actually have very many ports around the world. People who are actually truly fleeing persecution should indeed be given the avenues to be able to claim asylum and to be able to at least make a very strong case of why they think they are entitled to asylum. It's the case that well over about 60–70% of many of these people who come to the UK in boats are normally granted this asylum status. So the government should do its best to encourage and to at least make it easy for people to at least claim asylum. After all, we continue to remain signatories under the UN Convention 1951, and we're also still the human rights, the ECHR, that's the European Convention on Human Rights. We are still part of that very particular convention. We should allow the rules to run properly and clearly, and allow people to claim asylum when they have to claim asylum in this country. Not everybody is a person who wants to come and exploit the British system. No, these people are genuine asylum seekers who really want to get away from persecution in their country. There have been, many of them were tortured whilst in the UK, whilst in their countries, and hence the reason why they're seeking refuge elsewhere. So the humanitarian protection and our instinct for compassion should prevail over all this.
And now that the Court of Appeal has made its decision, do you think we are seeing the end of the UK-Rwanda asylum case?
I hope so. I hope it comes to an end. But it's my, I think I was reading something this afternoon about the British government saying that they would want to appeal to they're going to be actually asking for permission to appeal to the Supreme Court to challenge that very particular decision of the Court of Appeal. If they are to go to the Supreme Court to challenge the Court of Appeal's decision, they would then have to be able to make a very strong, valid case, of why the Court of Appeal was totally wrong in coming to that decision that the asylum, the Rwandan asylum policy is illegal. They would have to actually make a very strong case on point of law. If the appeal court is stating that they do not feel that there are procedures and good things in place in Rwanda for anybody to be able to claim asylum and for the asylum matters to be considered properly. If that's what the court is stating very clearly, and there's evidence to that effect that that's the case in Rwanda, the government would then have to make a very strong case on point of law why they strongly believe the Court of Appeal was wrong in coming to that decision in the first place.
Right. Immigration lawyer Dayo Ferdinand, thank you for your time today.
Well, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Let's move on. We're still talking about legal matters, but this time in France, where a court has sentenced a former Rwandan police officer to life imprisonment after finding him guilty of genocide and crimes against humanity. Philippe Hidkimana's crimes took place during the 1994 Rwandan genocide when Hutu militias killed hundreds of thousands of Tutsis and moderate Hutus. The prosecutors say he played a central part in carrying out the killings, which included murdering people and inciting others to do so. The man, who had worked as a senior gendarme in Yanza, a town in the south of the country, fled to France after the genocide. He acquired refugee status and French nationality under the name of Philippe Manier. He had worked as a university security guard in France and fled to Cameroon in 2017 when he heard a complaint had been filed against him. He was arrested in Yaoundé and extradited to France the following year to face trial. Welcome back to the program. Let's bring you news just coming in this hour. 4 people have died in South Africa's Kwazulu-Natal after the southeastern province was hit by heavy rain and a tornado. Powerful winds and rainfall first damaged roads and flooded houses and sewer systems, followed by a tornado that struck north of the port city of Durban on Tuesday. The province's disaster management department released a statement saying 3 were in Durban and the 4th in wider Kwazulu-Natal, adding that a 5th person was missing and more than 150 have been rendered homeless. The rainy season in Kwazulu-Natal usually runs from November to March. An exceptional rainfall at this time of year is quite unusual. Continuing with our coverage of the crisis in Sudan, where heavy fighting erupted between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces in the Sudanese capital of Khartoum on the eve of the Muslim festival of Eid al-Adha. Heavy artillery fire and gunshots were heard in parts of Khartoum after RSF commander Mohamed Dagalo announced a 2-day unilateral ceasefire ahead of the festival. Sudan's Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan followed hours later with his announcement of a unilateral ceasefire starting yesterday. The armed conflict in Sudan has so far shown no sign of abating since it began on April 15, despite the ceasefire deals reached intermittently between the warring sides over the past 10 weeks, in addition to causing significant property damage and looting in Khartoum, where foreign diplomatic missions have also been targeted. The conflict has also caused turmoil in other parts of Sudan, particularly in Darfur, a vast western region that borders Chad. The Rapid Support Forces Command released 100 prisoners of the coup forces. They say it's in consideration of and respect of human rights law. In the meantime, members of Sudan's Masalit tribe in Israel are watching in torment as family and friends have been caught up in factional bloodshed in Sudan's Darfur region that has sent tens of thousands of people fleeing into neighboring Chad. Residents have blamed violence centered on the city of El Janina on Arab militias known as Janjaweed and the Rapid Support Forces, a faction that has been fighting the army in the capital Khartoum and other parts of Sudan since April. Just over 5,000 Sudanese people live in Israel, dating to when brutal conflict escalated in Darfur from 2003. At the time, Sudan's government and the Janjaweed were accused of widespread atrocities as they acted to crush an insurgency by rebels complaining of discrimination.
From 2003, genocide, a lot of people, thousands of people, and a coming million of people becoming to IDP camps all around Sudan. And then also millions of people leaving the country and going to be refugees in different countries. And that is like going more worse and worse. And as what we see just last week, what happened in Geneva, that's pushing more, a lot of people, and genocide continuing. And the big mistake 2020 is they had the government people and rebel groups, they had a Juba peace agreement. And that's also like kind of encouraging our enemy to take the place of the Darfur area or Masalit area to keep continuing genocide. That's why a lot of people now becoming more refugees. And now what we see, more than like 150,000 refugees leaving the Geneva city and crossing the border to Chad. As we are Sudanese community in Israel, or as Masalit people in Israel, we're trying to our best to help our people in Geneva. Example, now we are kind of collecting little money to send to Chad, and who's already in Chad, able to buy food or water, medicine, whatever so they can do. So that's what we now preparing ourselves to help, even we are from far away. So that's what we're able to do.
Elsewhere, the Russian Foreign Ministry has announced that African leaders should decide for themselves whether they want to continue working with the Russian Wagner mercenary group. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zaporova said this at a weekly briefing after the paramilitary group's brief mutiny. Wagner fighters advanced on Moscow on Saturday, challenging President Vladimir Putin and seeking the dismissal of top military leaders before making a deal with the Kremlin that saw Wagner founder Yevgeny Prigozhin leave for Belarus. The Nigerian mission in Libya has secured the release of 40 Nigerians from the Bir al-Ghanam detention facility in Libya. A statement released by the Charge d'Affaires of the Nigerian mission in Libya, Kabiru Musa, said they were detained for immigration offences. Mr. Musa said he admonished them to return home and to refrain from irregular migration. He also disclosed that they will continue to be catered for until they are repatriated. According to the statement, among the arrested Nigerians are 34 females and 6 males who were detained at the facility that's about 150 miles from Tripoli, the capital city. It adds that the would-be traffickers lured most of them into traveling to Libya for greener pastures, where they ended up being exploited and sold into forced labor. Amidst the hustle and bustle of daily life in Nairobi's Kibera informal settlement, an educational initiative has been taking root and taking shape, empowering the community's children with vital coding skills. Code with Kids, founded by Renis Owino in 2015 aims to provide children from Kibera with access to coding education and resources, leveling the playing field with students from more affluent areas.
We started the Tinker.
12-year-old Hemedi Adinani is a coding student who has been attending classes since 2018. Robotics is Hemedi's favorite subject, and he likes to share his progress with his father.
We started the Tinker. How Tinker teaches us how to code. You're coding the game, and we went Scratch. Scratch teaches us. We make our own games and stories, animations. I went to Microbit, making letters, and now I'm robotics, making the robot follow what you command in coding. It's what the sprite or the robot will do.
Hemedi's parents are able to enroll him in coding classes for just 50 Kenyan shillings instead of 5,000 Kenyan shillings for similar classes in other parts of Nairobi. The young boy's father, Senga Adinani, is hoping the program will be beneficial to his son's future.
He was very keen from an early age, and especially he had the habit of downloading games on my phone. I hope that one day he may become a renowned inventor and that he may one day develop a unique invention using his bright mind.
I want you to click on convert to vector. Click on convert to vector. And then
Code with Kids founder Renis Owino started small, focusing only on children in the neighborhood.
I just wanted to empower the kids within the neighborhood, the kids that I knew. But now these kids kept on coming back with their friends and the numbers kept on growing. And then I realized Code with Kids is not a one-man show and it needed more people, and I opened doors for volunteers to come in. So we, as a team now, I started as and now I'm happy to say that I have a very energetic team, very well-skilled team of young adults that want to change the narrative of this.
To be able to compare the distance between the object and the robot. What is happening?
Since founding Code with Kids, Owino, who grew up in Kibera, next to the Adinani family, has been able to attract a growing number of volunteers to help her with her initiative that is now reaching around 2,000 children. Now, the goal is to put her community in the same digital space as other schools.
The European Union is set to sponsor a young Nigerian fashion designer, Mrs. Oyidamola Aleshiloye, to the 2023 Madrid Fashion Week holding in September. This is her prize for winning the maiden edition of the 2023 Europe Day Afro-Euro runway fashion show held in Abuja, Nigeria. Ms. Aleshiloye, with the brand name Kadiju, was declared winner from among the 7 finalists who had emerged from 124 young designers who sent in their entries. Our correspondent, Benny Ark, reports.
The Afro-Euro runway fashion show aims to encourage young professionals in Nigeria, and it's organized by the European Union in commemoration of the EU Day under the theme Year of Skill. The event is celebrating the EU's partnership with Nigeria, which is increasingly focusing attention on the youth, innovation and skills.
Our journey started in April, just a few months ago, when we launched this competition, the Afro-Euro runway competition for young designers. And we tasked them to represent the African and European values through their collections, to create unique designs fusing European and African styles and fabrics, and to create collections that promote the values of diversity and inclusion.
The Afro-Euro Fashion Runway Show had 124 young Nigerian designers who sent in their entries, and after the preliminary stage, 7 finalists were selected and qualified to participate in the runway show. The best 4 were selected for the final stage. Nigerian designer Ms. Onyidamola Aleshinloye, with the brand name Khadiju, emerged winner. According to the judges, the winner was picked using the 5 components of the theme for the competition, including interpretation of Afro-Euro fusion, creativity, execution, cohesiveness, presentation, and storytelling. Samira Mohammed came second, Oluchi George came third, and Happiness Miwori came fourth.
It's absolutely amazing that as a young designer and with so much hard work being an entrepreneur in Nigeria, that such hard work and creativity and originality gets to be recognized. And I am absolutely thankful that platforms such as this exist. And I am happy that we emerged the winner. With anyone coming into the industry, it's vital that, you have such a clear storytelling, brand message, and all of that goes into the brand as a whole. And just remain consistent and, just start. If you haven't started, start.
While the overall winner will be sponsored to the 2023 Madrid Fashion Week, the first runner-up will participate in the Dakar Fashion Week in December, while the second and third runners-up receive fashion design and equipment. All the contestants will be sponsored to attend business management training. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
That's our show today. Thank you for watching. I'm Joke Rogers.